debt.
All right, Representative King, let me bring you in here. Look, we've been watching this thing go back and forth for weeks now. It was crunch time last night when Speaker Boehner took the vote for closure so you can go to the actual vote for the bill, and all of a sudden the vote on the bill was delayed and delayed again. We were all trying to figure out what was going on. Were you called into leadership offices and were you spoken to, and if so, what was said in those meetings?
No, actually, no, I was not. The Speaker's office didn't contact me or contact my office and my staff. I was essentially left alone, and I was available for people to talk to. So I think they concluded that there was lower-hanging fruit, that they could get votes in an easier way than having that conversation with me. However that was on their side of it, I was pretty firm, and I'm comfortable with the vote I put up. And I think that if they had gotten down to where they really needed that last vote, I would have heard from them. But it was not a heavy-handed whip operation by the reports that I heard from the people that were in the office.
What about you, Congressman Paul Brown? Were you called into any of the leadership offices, and were you spoken to? And if so, what was said behind closed doors?
Yeah, I had a couple of people talk to me, and I visited with some of the leadership. It was a nice, friendly conversation. They just asked me if there was any way that I could vote for this bill, and I told them absolutely not, because we needed to start paying down our debt. We should not put more debt on the backs of the American people. And my vote, Eric, was a vote for America's future. It was a vote to establish a strong economy here, and I told them that, and they understood very firmly that I was very firm in that belief, that we need to start paying down the debt and not increase the debt as this bill does.
So let me get this straight. I spoke to Karl Rove a few minutes ago, and I said, look, this bill is likely going to hit the Senate floor. It's going to be marked up in conference or whatever you guys do behind closed doors. Frankly, we don't even understand that. And it'll probably end up back in the House. So,
right.
Again, there's going to be no way either one of you gentlemen, let me start with you, Congressman King, you're not going to vote for anything that comes back. You didn't like it the first way. You're certainly not going to like it back on your desk, right?
Well, it's very unlikely, and the pressure that Paul Brown and I are putting on, and the 20 others, and others that gave their vote at the last minute or into the last few hours of that discussion, is this. We've got to change the trajectory of the increase in the deficit spending and the United States federal debt. We've got to dial it down so we can get to a balanced budget a lot faster than we are. The Ryan budget is 26 years to balance. I'm glad he put that out there and it took courage to do it. This Boehner bill that passed changes that trajectory, and we get there in a longer period of time, longer than 26 years, not less. So the leverage we put on brings us closer to being able to get to the point where one day we can have a balanced budget. That's, I think, what drives Paul Brown. That's certainly what drives me.
Congressman Brown, Karl Rove thinks I'm crazy. He thinks I'm nuts for saying that I think you guys should hold out and wait and get everything you want, get everything you were elected on. He thinks that would hold up the process. How would you respond to Mr. Rove?
Well, I heard part of that interview with Karl Rove, and Eric, the thing is, what's going to happen is just exactly what you said. But in fact, just this afternoon before our vote, I saw a memo that was sent by Dick Durbin's office to Democrat senators over there, and they explained exactly what was going to happen, that they were going to table the House bill, they were going to file a cloture motion on agreeing to our bill with a Senate amendment, and then they were going to go through the procedural process, and eventually on Monday they're going to vote on our House bill with a Senate amendment, whatever that might be, whether it takes out the balanced budget part, whether it just changes
raises
it from
the ceiling a little bit more, maybe.
Well, it's going to be changed, and they will vote on it. It's a straight up and down vote that they'll have on Monday morning, sometime Monday, and then the Boehner bill with those Senate amendments are going to be sent back to the House,
right?
And then we're going to have to vote on whatever that is, and it just depends on how bad it gets. And that will determine how many House members that voted for the bill will be lost in the process.
And how many Democrats they pick up. There were no Democrats that voted for the Boehner bill. I got to think, if it comes back from Reid and the Senate, you may pick up a few Democrats in the House. Am I wrong?
That's exactly correct. You're dead on right, and that's exactly what Harry Reid's dependent upon. That's what John Boehner's dependent upon. You see, this whole bill and this whole scenario was already preset by John Boehner
you know
and
what,
by
sir?
Harry Reid.
I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that it was preset. It really bothers us as a journalist. It bothers me, but it really has to bother the American people watching tonight. I have to say thank you to both of you. I want to say thank you to Representative Paul Brown and Congressman King. Thank you so much for sticking around for a couple blocks for us.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Eric.
both of your guys' time.
Thanks, Eric.
That'll do it.